Have you ever snapped at someone and thought, where did that come from? At the very same time, you may be caring for a parent whose personality seems to be changing too. Today, I want to show you that those two experiences, while very different, may be rooted in something surprisingly similar inside the brain. If you are struggling, you're not alone. There was a season in my dad's life when the toughest part of his day wasn't a medical test or a hospital stay. It was a shower, just a shower. This was a man who had once overseen rocket programs, but somehow a warm bathroom and running water could send him into a panic. He'd push back, he'd shout, he'd swear, and that was the part that felt like whiplash because swearing wasn't him. He was a preacher's kid. The caregivers were kind, they were careful, they knew what they were doing, and none of it seemed to matter. Something about that ordinary routine lodged in his brain like a threat, and he fought it as if his life depended on it. For a long time, I carried around one blunt explanation, the kind people say when they're trying to survive something they don't understand. The disease made him a different person. Today, I want to tell you why I don't believe that sentence is true anymore. And more importantly, why it matters for you, whether you're caring for someone whose personality seems to be changing, or whether you're standing in your own kitchen at 51, stunned by how short your fuse has gotten. Welcome back to the Healthy Life Approach podcast. I'm Kristen Beasley, and this is part 2 in a short series on the differences between dementia and the menopause brain. In the previous episode, we talked about an idea from neurologist John Hewlings Jackson. Your brain processes language on 2 different tracks. One is deliberate and built in the moment. It's the kind of speech you assemble word by word with intention. That system is sensitive and it tends to break down first. The other is automatic and emotional. It comes out whole. It's the language of reflex, routine, and feeling. And it's remarkably resilient. If you remember only one line from that episode, make it this: the thinking words go first and the feeling words stay. Last time, that idea helped explain tenderness, a note, the last clear words. Today, we're taking it to the next level. Today, it helps explain the moments that make caregivers sit in a parked car and cry before they drive home. The swearing, the agitation, the fight over the shower. And it also helps explain something many of you have whispered to yourself in midlife. Why am I so irritable? Why am I snapping like this? Where did this temper come from? As we move through this, I want you to know I won't just unpack the science and the why. I'm going to share specific, practical steps you can take both in caring for someone else and in managing your own short fuse before we're done today. So if you are searching for something you can actually do, stay with me. Real strategies are coming shortly. So let's start where I started, with the shower. I want you to picture that scene, but not from the doorway where you're standing as the helper. Picture it from the perspective of the person who's resisting. You're cold, you're undressed, the room is bright and echoing, and your eyes and your brain don't quite organize what you're seeing the way they used to. A person is guiding you somewhere you didn't request. Water is coming, movement is happening, things are being done to you. Now here's the key part. The part of your brain that would normally make sense of this and talk you through this is weakened. You can't easily build the thought, this is a trained caregiver, I'm safe. This is routine. You can't easily produce the sentence, I'm scared. Please slow down. I'm cold. That sentence building system, the propositional language system, is often the first to fail. So what's left? What's left is the emotional brain, or the part of the brain called the amygdala. And the emotional brain doesn't deliver a carefully structured explanation. It doesn't speak in paragraphs. It speaks in alarm. It speaks in resistance, and it speaks with volume. And it grabs the simplest, most overlearned, most ready to fire words it can find. That means the behavior you're seeing, yes, even some of the shouting and swearing, is not the absence of communication. It is communication, just stripped down to the rawest possible version. This is the piece I wish someone had told me earlier. The behavior is not the disease. It is not turning your loved one into someone mean. The behavior is your loved one, frightened, trying to stay safe, using the only channel that's still working. Once that clicked for me, The shower stopped looking like a standoff. It started looking like a translation problem. He wasn't trying to be difficult. He was saying, I don't feel safe. And he was saying it in the only language he still had access to. Now, let's stay with the swearing for a moment because that's the part that hurts families in a very particular way. People ask this question in quiet voices, sometimes with guilt underneath it. Was that who they really were? Was the dementia revealing something hidden? Neuroscience gives us a much kinder answer. First, emotional language is built differently than thoughtful, constructed language. A swear word doesn't require you to assemble a sentence. It can launch instantly, like a gasp when you're startled or a laugh you didn't plan. These are deeply wired automatic outputs. So when the sentence building system deteriorates, the emotional words are often still there. They're durable. And by the way, that's true for those beautiful words too. It's one of the reasons I love you sometimes survives long after more complex speech becomes difficult. The emotional system holds on. Second, there is another brain feature involved here, and it's the one you can release from a lot of shame. In a healthy brain, there is a kind of internal regulator, often associated with the frontal lobes, that helps you decide which impulses actually come out of your mouth. We all have that spark of an impulse to swear when we slam a finger in a drawer or we stub a toe. But most of the time, there's a break, and that break helps you to keep it socially appropriate. It helps you to filter. And in many forms of dementia, that braking system weakens. The clinical term you'll often hear is disinhibition. And when the brake weakens, impulses that were always present don't necessarily become stronger, they escape more easily. So here's what that meant with my father. In his entire life, swearing wasn't his style. If anything slipped out, it was a tense damn or hell in a high-pressure moment. It wasn't chosen. It was more like something that got past a very strong internal filter. So when his filter weakened, guess what came through? Not a brand new personality, not some secret hidden cruelty, just a small set of reflexive emotional words that had always existed under the surface, now unguarded. The filter stopped holding. Those two things might look similar on the outside, but for a family trying to remember who someone truly was, they are completely different. Now, I want to pivot because that word break is also the bridge to your own life. A lot of women entering perimenopause feel blindsided by their own irritability, but it's important to note that men, young caregivers, and people supporting loved ones at any age can also face sudden mood shifts or frustration. Maybe it's snapping at a partner over something tiny. Maybe it's a sudden flash of rage in traffic. Maybe it's that strange moment afterward when things calm down and you think, who was that? If you have had that experience, I want you to hear this clearly. It is not turning you into a worse person. It is not a character flaw finally showing itself. It has a mechanism. Your brain also runs on a regulatory system, the prefrontal brake, that helps keep emotional reactions in proportion. It doesn't eliminate feelings, it modulates them. Estrogen supports that system in multiple ways, including through its interaction with serotonin, or the feel-good neurotransmitter, and other mood-related neurotransmitters. When estrogen starts dropping and swinging through the menopausal transition, that steadiness becomes harder to maintain. Your brake has less support. And then there's sleep. So many women are dealing with night sweats, disrupted sleep, early waking, insomnia, sometimes all of the above. And sleep loss doesn't just make you tired, it changes the balance of your brain's emotional network. Researchers studying sleep have shown that even a single bad night can make the emotional centers more reactive and the regulatory areas less able to rein things in. More alarm, less break. And that's the recipe for the short fuse. Now, large studies like the SWAN, which is a study of women's health across the nation, have documented increases in irritability and mood symptoms during these years. So if you've been wondering whether you're imagining it, you're not. That fuse is real, and it has physiology. Now, what do you do with that information if you're trying to get through a work day, a family dinner, a caretaking situation, or frankly, just your own mind? Start small. Think of this as giving your brain more fuel for that braking system. A simple bedtime routine matters more than you've been told. Dim the lights, Keep a consistent sleep window as often as you can. And if it's possible, keep your phone out of the bedroom. Build one downshift into your day, not 10, one. So that could be a short walk, it could be a breathing practice, it could be 5 minutes with a notebook where nobody needs anything from you. Make hydration and steady meals as non-negotiable as medication. Blood sugar crashes and dehydration don't just affect your body, they absolutely affect mood and reactivity. And lower your overall load in small, real ways. Say no once. Ask a friend for help. Give yourself 2 more quiet minutes with your coffee. None of this needs to be perfect. They are inputs, and the point is simple. Every small step supports the part of your brain that helps you stay steady. Now, sit with a parallel for a moment because it's striking. In my father, fear poured out because the disease weakened the brain. In you, irritability can break through because hormones and sleep disruption under-resource the brain. Same architecture, very different cause, and very different outlook. His braking system was failing in a way that wasn't going to reverse. Yours is not broken. It's just running low. And for many women, that fuel can be restored with sleep, stress support, and depending on your situation in discussions with your doctor, medical options. I also need to say what I always say when we talk about symptoms and mechanisms. I'm a health educator, not a clinician. A podcast can't diagnose you. Most midlife irritability rises and falls with transitions in your worst nights, and it often improves as sleep stabilizes, stress decreases, meals become steadier, and support increases. But there are times when it's absolutely the right move to reach out. If your mood changes, last for weeks, interfere with your ability to work or care for others, disrupts your eating or your sleeping, leaves you feeling hopeless, scares you, or puts you at risk of harming yourself or someone else, those are red flags. If it feels severe, persistent, or out of control, you deserve real professional care. This framework is not a substitute for help. It's a way to reduce shame and replace it with a plan. Now, let's go back to that room. What do you do in that moment when someone is escalating, whether that is your parent with dementia, or honestly, whether it's you after a brutal night of sleep? Here's the most useful lesson I learned. You cannot reason with an emotional brain. Reasoning requires the very language system that may be offline for them. So when you try to explain, correct, debate, or persuade, you're often adding demand to a nervous system that already is overloaded. The emotional brain doesn't read your logic. It reads your tone. It reads your face. It reads your speed. It reads whether that room feels safe. So instead of trying to win the argument, you lower the sense of threat. So let's look at a few scenarios where this might come up. Maybe you're trying to get your dad to get dressed in the morning, buttons, zippers, and different textures, because all become sources of frustration and confusion. That emotional brain picks up on the discomfort and reacts. Or maybe it's mealtime and the sight or smell of unfamiliar food feels overwhelming, and the act of being fed is disorienting. All of a sudden, a simple meal can turn into a flashpoint. Resistance, shouting, sometimes tears. These aren't just stubbornness. These are signals to feeling vulnerable. Even routine tasks like getting in or out of a car or moving from one room to another can overload the senses and become battles you never expected. Each of these situations is a moment when that looks like opposition is actually an expression of fear or confusion in the only words left available. Slow everything down. Warm the room up before a shower. Reduce the number of steps happening at once. Narrate each action gently as it happens, whether that's helping with a shirt or bringing a fork to the table. Offer simple choices when you can, like picking between 2 shirts instead of open-ended decisions. Use gentle narration, ask for less, and keep your own voice calm, because the frightened brain in front of you is borrowing safety from your nervous system. And then comes the hardest part. Don't take those words personally. That curse that lands on you wasn't really aimed at you. It was aimed at fear. You were just the person nearest the doorway. And with your own short fuse, the strategies rhyme. Know your triggers before you're trapped inside them. Late afternoon, low blood sugar, the third interruption, one more request, even though you've already given everything. Protect sleep like it's medicine, because for your emotional brain, it is. Lower the load when you can. And when you snap, don't turn it into a story about who you are. Treat it as a signal that your brain needs fuel, a signal that your brain needs rest. Give yourself the same kind of grace you wanted to give your father in that shower, because underneath the sharp moment is a person who needs something. And sometimes that person is you. So I want to return to that shower one last time. For a long time, I let those moments stand as proof that I was losing him, that the disease had taken him away. But I think I had it backward. The fear was evidence that he was still there. To feel threatened is to be present enough to want to protect yourself. The swearing wasn't my father disappearing. It was my father, frightened, short on words, trying to stay safe, still here. In the first episode, the thing that lingered to the end was love. He reached for it. He said he was proud. In this episode, the durable thing is harder to look at. It's fear. It's needed. It's that raw protective instinct that shows up when the thinking words are gone. But if you look closely, it's the same discovery wearing a tougher face. What survives is the person. The sharp words were not the truth about him. The truth was he was afraid. And being afraid is not the same thing as being gone. And for you, here's the gentler mirror of that. When you snap at someone you love and you hardly recognize yourself for a moment, doesn't mean your character is cracking. It may mean your brain is under strain and it's asking for help in the only voice it has available at the time. So answer it the way you wish the world could answer the frightened person in that shower. Not with an argument, with patience, with rest, with steady assumption that beneath the sharpness is someone worth being gentle with. Now, if this episode hit something tender in you, I have one simple ask. Please subscribe to the show and share this with a woman who is in the middle of her own menopausal transition while being a caregiver to a loved one with dementia. This podcast is where I share research, practical tools, and more honest stories like this one before they go anywhere else. And if you need more support than a podcast can offer, you're not alone. Finding other people who can understand can change the weight of this. If you're looking for a community or specialized support, consider reaching out to reputable organizations. The Alzheimer's Association, ALZ.org, offers a wide range of local and online support groups for caregivers and families, as well as a 24/7 helpline. Us Against Alzheimer's and Dementia Friendly America are also good places to find resources and community. For those navigating midlife changes, the North American Menopause Society, or menopause.org, provides education and connects women to professionals and organizations like Postcards for Midlife, which offer peer support. Even connecting with a local therapist or joining an online forum such as caring.com or Smart Patients can make a difference. A support group, an online community, or even one friend who truly gets it can make the burden feel more manageable. Thank you for staying with the hard topic. I'm Kristen Beasley, and this is the Healthy Life Approach podcast. Track it, measure it, optimize it. And remember, the sharp words are rarely the truth. The person underneath them is. My disclaimer is I'm a certified health coach, not a physician. This episode is informational and educational, not medical advice. If you are experiencing any of these symptoms, please consult with a licensed healthcare professional for proper evaluation and personalized treatment. Please consult your licensed provider about medical concerns and before starting any supplements, medications, protocols, or lifestyle changes. This podcast does not create a coach-client relationship. Individual results may vary. From time to time, episodes and material may include affiliate links that may provide a small commission at no extra cost to you. Thank you for being here.